powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan's here from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on every podcasting platform. And don't forget their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. Adam Caplan is here. The injury report is out. And one big name on that list, Adam Caplan, Zach Cunningham, will not play. He has been ruled out for the game. So let's start with some of the injuries and how it will affect this game. Yeah. The updated injury Eagles report, a lot of names on that list, but that one there, Zach Cunningham, is out, and Dallas Goedert has been listed as doubtful for the game.
All right, so let's explain kind of where the Eagles are at. So let's start with the guys who are out. We knew Justin Evans wouldn't play. That was never a secret. He's out. He didn't do anything this week. It's very odd.
McMullen told us earlier he thinks he's out done for the year. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know that, but it's very odd. In fact, Mike, they've got the 21-day window coming up here. So the way it works is, just so that everybody understands, once you hit the 21-day window, if you're not activated to the active roster, the 53-man roster, you cannot play. You remain on IR the rest of the season. So it doesn't look good for him. It's a shame. So Sirianni would not go into what happened, he obviously had a setback, Mike. He went into the window. He started practicing 2 weeks ago. And then, as you know, Mike, he stopped practicing. He didn't practice last week or this week. It's very odd. So he's out. We knew Cunningham wasn't going to play. He's out. Now, this is interesting. Goddard, he was catching on the side in a jersey on Thursday's practice. Today, he actually started practicing. Now, the Eagles are one of the few teams that rarely on Saturday upgrades players. He's listed as doubtful. That's Dallas Goedert here. You never say never, but if they have him listed as doubtful on Friday, I would say probably he would not play. Doubtful means, in NFL parlance, not expected to play. Now, some teams do have Saturday upgrades. The Eagles just don't do that. For whatever reason, they don't do that. Now, so let's assume he's not going to play because of the doubtful status. I still believe he'll play next week. That was what we've been talking about inside the Birds. They really felt he'd be back for the Dallas game. I think that's realistic. We'll know more next week. Now, Grant Calcaterra started working today. He's listed as questionable. That's a good sign that he came back today, Mike, and started working. That's a really good sign. Now, Fletcher Cox is interesting. Fletcher Cox, with the groin injury, he did not practice at all. Now, most often, when players don't practice during the week, they don't play on Sunday. However, we're seeing this from time to time with clubs, that if a guy doesn't practice and he's a veteran, that they could play on Sunday. So that's why the Eagles have him listed as questionable. Fletcher Cox, will see. He's got to get through pregame warm-ups with that groin injury. So the worst thing they can do is have him play limited, then he has a setback, then he's out for a while. So they're not going to want to do that. The good thing is, though, Mike, that Lane Johnson took all his reps the last 2 days, starters reps. He has been cleared to play. Milton Williams has been cleared out of concussion protocol. That's absolutely huge. He was phenomenal before he got hurt with a concussion. So they're going to have him back, particularly, Mike, if Cox does not play. Boy, getting Milton Williams back for this game would be huge.
Yes, that was one thing earlier in the week we were wondering. If Fletcher's out and Milton Williams out, you're talking about a lot of snaps possibly for Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. I would imagine their snaps are probably going to be up anyway this week.
Well, it always comes down to who's available. So if Cox is out, I mean Milton Williams will play more than he normally would. Remember, Milton Williams is more or less near the top of the rotation. He plays a lot more than you might call him a backup, but he's really not based on the way that they play him. They have a four-man rotation there mainly, and he's high up in it. So that's really good. And look, offensively, other than Goddard, Mike, they're in really good shape here. It would be great if they could get Calcaterra back because they're a little bit light at that tight end position right now.
Yes, indeed. All right. Niners pretty healthy over there. Eric Armstead, Spencer Burford is the only two names on their injury report, really. So you're looking at a Niners team that had some injury problems earlier in the year, and they're coming in this game ready to go, full force pretty much.
Yeah, that's a big one, though. Eric Armstead is one of the starting defensive tackles, played for Chip Kelly at Oregon. Yeah, he's a really good football player. Remember, when you look at their front, they run that wide nine, with the Jim Schwartz wide nine. Their defensive line coach, Chris Kusarik, was a Jim Schwartz disciple, and they're running it, and they really get up the field. Armstead's really, really good, so that would be big if he couldn't play. Burford, they think, is going to play. One of the starting guards, he missed last week's game, but that would be huge if Armstead can't play. Now, we'll have more on this in our Inside the Birds pregame show on Sunday, which is back now at the normal time of 10 a to 12 p. But, yeah, that's it for the injuries. You're right, Mike. The Eagles have a much worse injury situation. But it got a little better, certainly, for the Eagles on Friday.
Yes, all right. Let's look at the matchup a little bit here. Some of the matchups that Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds podcast, that you are zoning in on. Let's look at the Eagles' offense against the Niners' defense. You've got Jalen Hurts and that front seven of San Francisco, which is one of, if not the best in football, plus their secondary.
Yeah, they got a great front. Obviously, it would be great if Armstead did not play. They're mostly a zone team. Though they will occasionally move Charvarius Ward, and he sometimes does trail in man against the team's number one receiver. Every now and then he'll do that. But the bottom line is the Eagles have to be able to protect. Having Lane Johnson back, and hopefully he'll make it through a full game, is huge. I believe, now I know it's going to rain. As of right now, Mike, it's still scheduled to rain the entire game. Yes, forecasts can change, and hopefully it will change. But if they can protect, I expect it to be a pass game, a throw ball game. The way you beat the Niners, when they have their 3-game losing streak, they give explosive plays. It's going to be harder to run against them. I would expect the Eagles to come out passing in this game.
All right. What about you take a look at, you just said you expect them to come out passing. What's DeAndre Swift's role then?
Out of the backfield, it'll be hard, Mike. It'll be hard. They've not gotten yeah, he'll get targeted in the pass game, but they've not got the explosives that I was looking for occasionally downfield. It's been more a little bit screens, dump it off. But what I love is, though, what they did against Kansas City when they stacked him with 2 other receivers and they ran him on a jet motion and he took it upfield, like stuff like that. That kind of deception in disguise is something we've seen in the second half. Since the Eagles coaches came out of the bye, we could see something like that. That certainly would be smart. The Eagles, as a league source who is great at the Eagles tape told me, no question in their mind, this guy's mind, that the reason why they're playing so much heavy 3 and 4 receiver sets, they played a season high 18 to 20 snaps of 10 personnel last game. It's because of Goddard being out, because they don't have anyone they trust at that move tight end position. So they're just using more. They're spreading out with more receivers. Now, here's the thing: Quez Watkins is off the injury report. I know he's not going to play a lot, but when they use him, you wonder, as he did 2 years ago when he had that 91-yard catch, which they didn't score on, you wonder if he'll take a couple deep shots to him.
All right, if they take deep shots, it's A.J. Brown, Smith as well. Yep. You mentioned Watkins against the San Francisco secondary and an injury at safety for them. This could be a big storyline in the game.
Yeah, Hufanga, who's out for the season with a torn Achilles, he's typically more of a box safety like Sidney Brown. In fact, that's what some personnel people thought Sidney Brown could be, a Hufanga type. If he can be over time, that'd be a pretty good player. Guy's a Pro Bowler. Jair Brown from Penn State, who's a rookie, 3rd-rounder, had 10 interceptions his final 2 seasons at Penn State. He's a pretty good player. They have absolutely no depth at safety. They'd have to go to Isaiah Oliver, who was their nickel, who's now kind of he's just a backup corner. I'm told he's taken snaps at safety, so he would be the emergency safety. And they're not deep at corner either. So this is another reason why, Mike, I think they'll spread them out.
All right, Adam Caplan, Football at 4. Let's look at the Eagles' offensive line. Probably their biggest challenge of the season?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I would say so. The wide 9, they know it. That's just what the Niners use. You got to be able to protect. That's the key to here. And Hurts, when he's got an opportunity, go ahead and run. Could be, by the way, he could have a decent amount of rushes in this game, particularly if the Niners could get upfield. All
right, let's flip it over to the other side. When the Niners' offense is on the field, you got a lot of questions here. Brock Purdy match it up against the Eagles' linebackers, the secondary spots, McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. They got their hands full.
Yeah, and the Eagles' secondary gives them up the most explosive plays of the National Football League to opposing receivers. That's not a good stat that you want. You don't want to be ranked worst against opposing receivers. Brock Purdy is an anticipator, Italian-based West Coast offense. We actually talked to former Bears defensive coordinator / Colts head coach Chuck Pagano today for Patreon, and we actually went over that. one of the things he said about the 20 things he said about this game, and he was phenomenal. You got to disrupt Brock Purdy's timing. I know he's smart. I know he's a good processor, but you've got to, as we move along in these matchups, Mike, we'll sum it up like this. You've got to disrupt the timing of McCaffrey out of the backfield. Ayuk, you mentioned Deebo Samuel on end arounds or jet motion. George Kittle, Mike, in his 2 regular season games against the Eagles, combined 19 for 19.
Jeez.
For 200 yards exactly and 1 touchdown. You got to slow him down, Mike. You got to slow him down. He gets open by formation variation all the time. And the one advantage as we close this out, Mike, that the Eagles have is they're the Eagles' defensive line versus the interior of the Niners' offensive line. They're not very good there, and quarterbacks hate inside pressure. The Eagles have to win with stunts and get inside pressure against that front. That's the only way they're going to disrupt Purdy's timing.
Yeah, that's a big factor in this game. Can the Eagles pass rush get there fast enough to? But the problem becomes they get the ball out quickly because a lot of their weapons are short over the middle between the seam guys. Of the guys, McCaffrey, Kittle, Samuel, Ayuk, which one do the Eagles match up the worst against?
All of them. All of them. Probably Ayuk because he's a post route runner over the deep middle, which you were alluding to. Eagles have given up so many explosives over the middle. But again, you could if you disrupt their timing and make Purdy rush himself, that's how of an inaccuracy. So you want to bait them, and the Eagles use a lot of different coverages, which they have to do because the Eagles are not good enough for the back end. This is an interesting matchup. I agree with the 3-point line. I think the Niners are a little bit better than the Eagles. Doesn't mean the Eagles can't win. We know how resilient they are. It should be a great game, Mike. I know people are saying, well, if the Niners win, they could blow out the Eagles. I don't see that. The Eagles will make it interesting, and they could steal this game. The one thing that the Niners they haven't been asked to do under Purdy, they've rarely been asked to come from behind here. We don't know. Like Jalen Hurts is unbelievable come from behind. We don't know. Could Purdy do that? What if the Eagles got up early in this game? How would the Niners handle it?
Right. Well, let me just one thing on you mentioned all of them. Byard, if you're trying to use him on somebody, is it Kittle? Does he keep his eyes on McCaffrey? How do you use Byard this week? Yeah,
Byard's a tight end guy. That's the kind of way they're doing it, and I would expect that. No, I know he's a great athlete, Kittle, and he's an unbelievable blocker, but he's another guy. See, they have 4 pass targets. I'm including McCaffrey because he's obviously a part of it.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings is their third receiver. They're not a big 11 personnel team. They're a big 21 personnel, 2 backs. Juszczyk from Harvard, the juice man, highest paid fullback in NFL history. He's a great athlete, but he was too short. He was a tight end at Harvard, and he moved to the Senior Bowl because he's 6'1.5". He moved to fullback, and he's on the field more than any fullback in the National Football League. That is not an easy matchup because they also, by the way, will use him occasionally in the pass game.
All right, Adam Caplan, there you go. Football at 4. Those are the matchups they're watching at Inside the Birds. And, of course, the Inside the Birds podcast. You can get on all podcasting platforms and watch the pregame show on all their social media platforms, including their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.